Hello, hello everyone. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining me. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make lovely and quirky hand embroidery kits. And I am here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And it's a time when we can relax and craft a happy life together. And we are working on we work on projects from beginning to end for about an hour here in the evening. And we are going to continue on Block 7 For the Love by Sharon Burgess today. This is from the Splendid Sampler 2 Quilt Along. And there's 100 quilt blocks total. This is block number 7. I think we've just finished block 11. Oh, thanks, Deborah. Thanks, Antoinette. It's nice seeing you guys again as well. So I was on location at my mom's house last Friday, and then Monday was Labor Day, and yesterday we drove home from my parents' house, and I was so exhausted. I could not move. I slept on the couch, all afternoon when we got back, and then I just had to go to bed. So we're back for reals today. I've had some sleep, so I feel a whole lot better. But we have all our pieces prepped, so now we are going to start stitching them all around this center square area, and maybe we'll even get going on stitching it to the background. We'll see. I don't know if we'll make it that far, but I think we can at least get it all stitched together tonight. So when I was at my mom's house, I showed you how she is doing the quilt as you go technique for her Splendid Sampler 2 quilt, and I think I'm going to be doing the same thing here as well. Pam just said that she won a Best of Show at the fair with her Splendid Sampler quilt. Congrats, Pam! That's amazing! Oh, that's so cool. That's so exciting. Thanks so much for sharing here. That's wonderful. So yeah, we are on the second Splendid Sampler quilt, just getting going on it, but that's just kind of amazing. I'd love to hear if you guys have worked on the first Splendid Sampler, or if you're still working on the first Splendid Sampler. This is the second one. It has all new designers in it and all new blocks, and we're going to give it a go. So I think I'm going to do the quilt as you go technique as well. I'm going to do it the same way as my mom is, with groupings of 4. So she's sewing 4 blocks together to make like a 12-inch square, and then she's quilting that, and then she's making another block of 4 and quilting that, and then she's using the quilt as you go technique to put them together. So I think we're going to do the same thing. I need one more block done to get the second segment of 4. So I have 8 complete blocks after I finish one more. So I thought we'd keep going on this one today, since we've kind of been working on this one. We'll see how far we can get. So all right, that's the plan today. And I'm gonna flip you around. Let's get going. Oh, Pam, that is so sweet. I'm so happy that I could help out just at all. That is awesome. You put in all the work to that. I know these quilts, these Splendid Sampler quilts, it's a lot. I mean, it's a big leap to do 100 completely different blocks, and they're all different levels of difficulty and different styles. Like, for example, we're doing English paper piecing on this one. So there's a lot to learn and a lot to play around with for sure on these blocks. Oh, you guys, I did not make it to our fair. I did not make it to the Minnesota fair. That's a biggie. That's a big one, too. And you know what? It just did not happen. And that's the way it is sometimes. All right. So let's get going. I have the one that is sewn to our little deal here already, and our little square. And now we need to sew the other 4 on. So how we're going to do it is we're going to match up the corners, putting right sides together. We're going to stitch this straight line. It's not very straight. Some of these I had to kind of get wonky to sew together just right. but I'm gonna attempt my best to sew this bottom to an edge of our square, and then we're gonna go up this little edge too. You can see it matches up that little side. So each one of these, when we stitch on, it'll be like 2 parts. One side, and then we'll fold it for the next. And then same thing with the next one. We'll do the one side, then the little angle, and then this one will have 3 little bits on. I'll probably do the straight edge first, and then up the side, and then I'll probably jump back to do that extra little piece. But at that point, we will have this whole center area complete. And actually, now that you can see them all, you can kind of tell that I centered a little flower on each one. It's super subtle, but at least each one has a little flower. I think that's kind of cute. Okay. So here we are. I got my straw needle, or my Milner's needle. It's long and skinny. This is the size 11 needle, I believe. It is totally bent. I should get some new ones because I love using them for all this this kind of handwork here. So I don't know. I should go out and get some more of these because this one's bent, but still using it. All right, let's thread that. And I'll get a little bit up here. Oh, you used your free motion quilting that you learned on the Charming Chevrons quilt too, Pam. Amazing! That is just so neat. Yay! How fun. All right, I'm gonna go clockwise for no reason other than it feels right. So, all right, you know, some of these I didn't get quite straight, and this looks like one of them. So I'm gonna kind of match up the first corner to the middle, and then I'll shimmy it and match the rest of it up, I think. That's my game plan. All right, so I have a wonder clip out here. I just like using those. It takes the stress off of my hands. You don't need to use your hands, but or I mean, you don't need to use a wonder clip. You can just hold together with your hands. But this pinching motion, like holding something tight like that, kind of hurts my hands after a little. So this just throwing a wonder clip on there kind of alleviates it. Ooh, we get to use knicker knots again too. I haven't done that in a little while. So I have not tied a knot in this thread. I'm just gonna let it dangle. I'm gonna go around one more time. Or I'm actually just gonna put the needle in. So here's our knicker knot, and it's a nice way to start and end little points like this. I'm using my thumb to hold the thread out of the way. And we're gonna take the thread that's coming out of the piece and go around the back to the left, and then we're gonna hold it in place with the thumb. And then the strands that are coming out of the needle, we're gonna go around the back but to the right, and then hold it in place. And that's what's gonna make our knot. So we can just pull through, we can let go. Gets caught on everything. But it makes kind of like a weird twisty figure 8, or just, you know, just a pile of twists. Give that a little pull, and that should lock our corner in place. So, all right, then we can just do our little whip stitches. So here we go. I'm just going perpendicular to the edge. Just grabbing a few threads from either side. Well, I hope all of you had a great little mini vacation, at least here in the US. Like I said, I just kind of zonked out on Tuesday, so I suppose I had a little extended vacation. But it was super fun hanging out with my parents again. We just chilled. I ate 2 caramel apples. So that's always a good vacation when you can eat some caramel apples from the little orchard that's near my parents' house. All right, so now I'm kind of matching up that other corner. This was that oddball one that I didn't get perfectly straight. I'm gonna clip it down here. So let's just try and get this center area, kind of lift it back up in here. Ooh, you went into the Adirondack Mountains. Wow, Amy, that sounds beautiful. Yep, got those caramel apples, Gretchen. Oh man. So we didn't hear any frogs this last time I went there, but I know some of you who have been with me when I'm at my parents' house, and the doors open in summer, you can hear the frogs chirping. Well, they kind of live in this little tiny pond that my parents had some goldfish in. The goldfish have been in there for a few years as well, so they're getting big like these goldfish. A blue heron, before we came there, so in the past like a couple weeks ago, a blue heron ate all of the fish. So those fish have been there for years, and it just came in, discovered them, and it was like a little buffet. So it got all the fish, and when we were there this past weekend, we saw it there. It was still looking for more fish in there. It came back like 3 times we saw it. This big blue heron. Oh, you're gonna say blue herons are notorious. Yeah, I mean, I was just looking outside of the pond, and I knew all the fish were gone, but you know, I just like looking out there, and I got startled because I didn't see it at first, but this giant blue heron was right there, and it looked like a statue, and it totally was hunting. So on the last day we saw it, it snagged a frog. So we actually got to see it catch a frog. So this big frog was dangling like a foot, like just by the foot in its mouth, and then it got in its, we didn't see it eat the whole thing, but then we saw it like clasp it, and then it would like dip it in the water a little bit. I don't know if it was rearranging it or what, but man, we got to see that guy catch a frog. It was a pretty big frog. So I don't know, maybe we won't be hearing the little frogs anymore either with that guy there. Oh, they lost all their, you knew someone else who lost all their koi by a heron. Yep, man. But geez, those birds are huge in person. Holy cow. All right, I'm going to do this other side now, so I got to bend this middle section to get my right sides together. That is perfectly okay. Feel free to bend it. It's not going to hurt anything. Oop. And then I'm going to pin that bugger in place again. But then today, my husband was at the window, and he was like, there's a kitty outside, which is always news, because if there's a kitty around, I gotta go check it out. So I looked outside, and it was a neighbor's cat. I don't know what neighbor, but there was this beautiful, like, blue-gray kitty, you know, like those cats that have that gray fur, but it just kind of has that hint of blue, and it's just all like the perfect color gray, right? So one of those was walking in our backyard in full hunt mode. You know what I mean? Like when they just are in slow motion and their feet are barely going, they are just like in super duper slow motion. And we're like, oh man, he's hunting something. So he was headed towards our fence, which is full of grapevines. So he was looking for something in those grapevines, and we were just watching him because he was getting closer and closer, and every once in a while he'd go up just a little faster, you know, but still stealthily. Oh yeah, Russian blue, a Russian blue. That's the color. And I thought, oh, maybe, yeah, maybe he'd get a little mouse or something in there, or that's the sparrows like hanging out in those grapevines there. But he didn't get either of those. So he's doing his slow motion move, and then all of a sudden he just shoots at the fence, and I swear he just, knocked his head into the fence or something. But we saw some scuffling around back there, and he comes out of the grapevines with a big old rabbit in his mouth. So way bigger. I think it was like a teenager rabbit, so it wasn't a full-grown rabbit, but still, I was expecting the tiniest of little mice or something, and he got a full blown rabbit from in there. And then he just had in his mouth, and he walked proudly home is what it looked like. He just walked through our yard and through the neighbor's yard, and then we didn't see him anymore. But man, he just like snookered that guy. So it was just funny seeing two things like that in within like 2 days. Yep, poor Peter Rabbit. But there's a bajillion more where they came from. We have so many rabbits here. Yeah, right. We got our first little section done. So there to there. And you know what? I'm going to snip this thread. We will start fresh. Yes, wild nature. But man, we were just like, what's the kitty going to get? Because he was full. You know how kitties, they're either in like pet me mode or they're in I am a wild animal hunting mode for those kitties. And he was deep in hunt mode. But it was such a pretty kitty. He had a collar on and stuff too, so good thing he didn't have like a bell on his collar. Yep, he was gonna take his prize home to show mom, that's for sure. Oh man, we had a cat named Kitty. And when we were little, and it was an outdoor cat, and it would always leave animal parts like underneath the car for us to discover. Oh, is it starting to get cool to plant lettuce? Oh, do you plant wet lettuce when it's cool? See, I don't know anything about that. Is that something that you plant beforehand and then, or do you get like a fall crop or something? I don't know if we'd have enough time for a whole nother crop to grow. Your cat used to get moles. My parents are in Wisconsin, Mary. So I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So it's about a 5-hour drive or so. Your kitty hates to be inside. Yeah, the cats that we had were always outdoor cats. We never had an indoor cat. So our first two kitties were Kitty and Catty. We got when we were little, and I named them, and I thought I was so clever naming it Kitty and Catty. Until my friend who had, she grew up on a farm and had cows and stuff, and she's like, oh, we had like 3 cats named Kitty. But anyway, I thought Kitty and Catty were the best, and they were farm cats, so we got them from the barn from my grandma's house. And then we had Sammy, who was also an outdoor cat. My brother, I think, found him as a stray at Noah's Ark Water Park when he used to work there. And then now we have Chad, who is also an outdoor cat. So just kind of, I mean, I suppose they're all kind of strays that have been neutered and stuff, but strays that just kind of live around the house. You feed them and they stick around. But yeah, I got to see Chad this weekend, and it's just nice. I don't know if I could have an indoor kitty. It's just, I don't know. All the hair and a litter box and all that. I don't know about that. Oh, Christmas Day, your kitty's caught a possum. Dang, that's a hefty catch. Left it for you for lunch. Oh, how nice of it. Sammy would catch like a chipmunk and then let it run for a little and then re-catch it again. But yeah, I like Chad. He was so nice, but he was getting angry at me. First of all, I was going to go inside, and he did not like that, so he had a meow, super cute, and sucked me in to pet him more. And then I wasn't doing it right. Like, I wasn't petting his neck enough, so he's giving me the stink eye, and then finally I went in, and he tried to grab me with both his paws, but I'm like, nah, you're getting a little too feisty, Buster. but I like him. Yeah, yeah, it's just, and we have, you know, I don't know. We just have a small house and stuff, and I just can't see. We got enough junk in here. I don't know. Adding a litter box would, that's just like, yeah. Wouldn't happen, but I like the outdoor kitties, and I count the kitties I see on my walk. All right, let's fold this up again to get this diagonal. All right, just trying to match this up. It's getting a little, doesn't quite want to do what I want it to do. But I think we got it now. I use this needle for English paper piecing and for needle turn applique, but it's this paper piecing, and I think it's this move right here, like going up, because I'm pushing like down and then up with my finger here. I think that's what's bending the needle. The needle turn applique, that doesn't, however I do that, that doesn't bend it at all. It's this English paper piecing. So I'll have to snag some more of these. Your kitty loves living outside, but again, I'm in the South. Our kitties were always outside and all throughout winter. You know, we'd have food in the garage and stuff so they could stay warm in the garage. But they always stayed outside, even in the coldest bits of winter. They get huge furry coats. All right, let's go around this once and then we'll do our knicker knot in the same place. Around back, one side, around back, the other side. We finished this block last week. It took ages. Yeah, it's taken a while, for sure. But we're getting there. We have to, well, I just have this one more here, so that's, I mean, putting it to the square isn't taking long at all. I think the longest is gonna just be appliquing it around. I haven't decided if I'm gonna leave the papers in or not for the applique. I'm kind of tempted to leave them in just because I've never done it that way before. So you can leave them in, and then when you're done stitching it on, you can cut the back away and then pull out your papers, which is scary to me, cutting out the back, but I'm just curious because I've never done it that way. So I may give that a try. Yeah, the higher number, the thinner the needle. That's correct, Pam. You have to applique yours yet, Irene? Yeah, I'm hoping to maybe start the applique tonight. Just because, why not? You still have 4 to catch up on. Nolene, I'm right there with you. How many do we have? I think this is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, so we must have 11. Yeah, so we've had 11 blocks. Yeah, I guess I have 4. If you include this one, I think I have 4 that are unfinished as well, because I only have 7 done right now. When I finish this one, then it'll be 8. This one's probably the closest to being finished, although maybe not. Maybe I just chose this one because we have been working on this one. I think if I pull out that foundation paper piecing one with the tree, that one probably could get done faster than this one. But we were working on this one, and it'd be a bummer to start up another one without finishing it. So we'll see how far we get on this. Tomorrow is New Block Thursday, so we'll be stopping this again wherever we get to tonight for New Block Thursday. And then Friday, it's Finish It Friday. So this Friday, it's the first Friday of the month. So if you can believe that it's September already, which is crazy town. So we'll be finding a project that's been sitting around that I don't have done yet, and I'll be trying to make some progress on that. And every time we've done that, every time I've worked on a Finish It Friday here, it's been like the jump start I need to finish the project. So I'm pretty excited. I don't know what project I'm gonna pull out here yet on Friday, but I'm stoked that it's another Finish It Friday. So Lucy, we will probably not start the granny quilt till late in the year. So it might not be till like December really. And it might actually be early January yet. So just because from what we've been working on, things just take a little bit longer, and I'm still getting that sketchbook cover project together. That shouldn't take that long to actually do. So I suppose we'll start the Granny Square project after that. Although it sounds like this is going to be 2 pieces, 2 blocks a week soon once we get the book. So we'll have to kind of manage that. So that, Gretchen, that's what I'm thinking. The I Love Home quilt, I am not done with that. I'm done with the front. So the I Love Home quilt we did a while back with Jacqueline Steves. It was a Jacqueline Steves pattern. And I have the front done, but I don't have the back done. I don't have a back for it. And I don't have, and therefore I don't have it sandwiched together for a quilt, basically. So I could work on that. I have started the back. I'm gonna do like what we did with the Splendid Sampler one and with the Charming Chevrons quilt, where I just take all the fabric that was in the front of the quilt, all my scraps, and I just sew it all together and use all those scraps in the back. So I've started to sew together the little scraps, and you know what? I think maybe that would be a good project. Get as far on that back or use up as many scraps as I can to get a little further. That would feel good, getting a little further than that. And then, I was going to do that for this project too, just sew all the scraps together for the back, but now I'm going to do quilt as you go, so I won't have like a ton of scraps for the back, because I'll be sewing the back as we work on it. I'll be, sewing the back as we work on the front, so I won't have all those scraps. So I have to figure out, what I want to do for a back for that one. And I might just do it with a white background, because I have a bunch of that white fabric that I've been using for the front as well. So that might be what we use. So I'll have a bunch of scraps from this project too that I won't know what to do with. Oh, maybe I'll use it for the border or something. I can still use all the scraps, just in a different way. It just won't be on the back. But yeah, so I'm excited to get that quilt as you go started as well. I just want to finish one more. Block, hopefully this one. Or maybe, who knows, maybe Thursday will be a one-day block, who knows. I'm running out of thread here. I should have maybe got a new piece, but I'm trying to make it work. Maybe I just won't do the knicker knot. I'll just go around twice. Not as secure as a knicker knot, but it will do. But yeah, so I want to get just 8 blocks. I don't need the 8 blocks right away to get started, because I have 4. I'm going to put them in groups of 4. But I thought, might as well get another grouping done. And then I can quilt both of them at once, and then do the first quilt as you go connection. The sashing should be the same throughout, right? Yeah, so the sashing for quilt as you go, I'm going to have to do a little bit of research yet, but I think you'll need the sashing, you'll need 2 pieces for quilt as you go. One piece is going to be, they're both going to be as long as your segments. So my segments are going to be Once there's, I think I'll have a 12.5-inch block, I believe, once I sew the 4 segments together. So I'm going to need a 12.5-inch sashing piece, and then I'll need 2 of them. So I'll need 2 12.5-inch pieces, and then one is going to be 1 inch wide, and the other is going to be 1.5-inch wide. So that is what you'll need for the quilt as you go sashing, and then I'm going to have to do a little bit more research on it. The granny quilt, Diane, I think I have a link in this Facebook post for that, so you can do just it should say, I think it's in the product area. It'll say our next project is the granny square quilt. You can get the link to it there. All right, let's try and do this last bit as a knot though. Okay, and I don't think I have to do that one more edge. One more edge over here. Maybe I have enough thread. I kind of think I might need to get more, but let's get our piece together. Just folding that middle so my edges match up okay. Gotta get that guy ready. Just don't always want to play nice, so I'm kind of manipulating it a little bit. All right, I'm going to just try and jump over to this piece with whatever I got in the needle here. I think I'll have just enough to finish stitching, hopefully. Ah! There we go. Got this little thread in the way. There we go. All right, I am going to try and do a little knicker knot here, though. Yeah, there's variations of this granny square quilt out there, and they're all really cute. This is the one that I got, and the link, I think it's on the All People Quilt page, but I bought it, and there's something just really interesting about how it's sewn together. And maybe these are how the other ones are sewn together too, but I've never sewn together a quilt like this. Like how you treat the strips is kind of interesting. So I'm curious. I'm excited to do this particular pattern, how they have it all set. I thought I was going to use scraps for it, but I think I might use bigger pieces. Like I might use fat quarters for it. So we'll see. I'll have to read through the pattern again. But yeah, that won't be till a little later in the year, because we'll be working on this project and we'll be doing that sketchbook project yet. And I know it's taking me forever to get that together, but it'll get together. All right, there's that knicker knot. Okay, we should have this piece done. Well, at least this center area. So, okay, here it is. So now this is where, do I want to just like spray starch the heck out of this? Or do I want to just, and then take the papers out, or do I want to stitch it down is the question. And I put my iron on because I do want to give it a little bit of a press. But I'm tempted to stitch it with the papers in, and the only reason why is because there's this goofy thing with this particular English paper piecing where we have these curved bits here, and I'm nervous that I'm gonna lose those curves a little bit by taking the papers out. And I'm just curious about the idea of stitching the whole thing down and then cutting away the back and then popping the papers out. I've never really done that before. So I'm kind of curious about just stitching it as is. Although I feel like it's not going to be as easy to hold and stuff. But again, that's what I want to maybe try out. So I think we're going to stitch with the papers in. You can do either or. I'm going to just give it a little press right now. So let's head over to here. Got my wool pressing mat. You know what? Might as well press this guy too. But yeah, typically I would just, hit it with some starch and then take the papers out. But yeah, I just have those little funny curves that I'm a little nervous about. Look how, I mean, this is tiny. It's just so funny, all these little itty bitty pieces that we're dealing with here. We'll just press the heck out of it here. You also took the papers out and starched. We're gonna do an experiment. We're gonna do it where we leave the papers in. So now here's the next question. I don't know, let me know if any of you have done this before where you've kept the papers in. I'm curious how I hold it here while I work on it. Oh, I suppose we could glue baste it. But that kind of always just moves around too, doesn't it? I suppose we could give it a try. All right, so let's try glue basting it. With all the glue you weren't able to get the paper out through the back. Oh no, Lucy! All right, we're gonna see how that works. I'm not gonna cut off the tails. I might trim them a little bit as I approach them, but I think I'm just going to kind of tuck them underneath and try and just kind of push them out of the way as I stitch kind of around them. I think that's my plan. We'll see though. So yeah, let's just give this a glue. So I'm going to I'm only going to put glue on the seam allowances and, just some globs here and there, just on this outer edge. Again, we're doing a little experiment here. Usually I take the papers out. Actually, I think, now that I think of it, this is the first time I'm trying to leave the papers in. So we'll just see how it goes, I suppose. So you only want to get it on the fabric. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Now that I let the glue sit, but let's fold the black into quarters. You're right. That's a good idea, Lydia. Then we can center it. So hopefully my glue stays wet a little bit. There, I also, if I remember right, yeah, I cut this a little bit bigger so we have a little bit of a little leeway. Ah, dang, my glue's all dried already. Boo! Let's just throw a little bit more on there. Real quick. I don't know how well this is really going to work, this glue, but we'll maybe try and get some pins in here too, see what happens. All right, let's line up those points on our little fold lines and kind of center it. All right, that's not bad. Wow, this is gonna get right up to that 6.5 inch seam allowance really, because yeah, we'll have like maybe a 1/4 inch to spare, so we're gonna have to really wait. Yeah, when we trim this down, wow, yeah, when we sew this into the quilt, it's gonna be right up to the point, really, almost, it looks like. All right, well, I suppose these are kind of attached. I think I might throw some applique pins in some of these dog ears that are sticking out here. So let's just assume let's start here, and that'll be my first thing. I'll go clockwise. So all these little bits that are sticking out here, just because I'm not sure this is going to stay, and it's going to be hard to pin through these papers, I'm just going to throw a pin in this dog ear. Yeah, Sandra, this might work. This idea probably of keeping the papers in probably works a lot easier with freezer paper. Although with freezer paper, do you do a couple layers? Because how do you get the freezer paper to be strong enough to have that nice edge? I would think freezer paper would be a little flimsy, but maybe a couple layers of it. All right, we'll get that last bit there. Just a couple pins. Hi, Donna. Oh, Lucy, you used two layers of freezer paper, and then did you stitch it? Oh, but you had a hard time getting the paper out too, didn't you? Okay, so let's attempt to applique this. So the other part that's going to be maybe a hair difficult is the applique isn't going to be as flexible because we have all of these papers in our way. So we're going to kind of have to work around the lack of flexibility. And the paper is right at the edge there too, so it's going to be hard to grab. So this might just be a total failure. And if that's the case, we'll spray it down and take the papers out. But I want to give it a try. So let's get our needle back out here. I'm going to scoot you guys a little closer. Okay. Oh, I could put, oh, that's a good idea. I could put a ruler, just a quilting ruler on here with, and then put a weight on top of it and then let the glue dry. That's true. Maybe I'll try and dab a little bit more glue underneath, you know, when we finish this evening, just to get it to stick a little bit longer. Because again, I don't know when I'll be working on this again. So yeah, it'd be nice if the glue stays. Yeah, we'll leave those pins in, see what happens. Okay, so I'm gonna just throw a little knot. I'm only using like, you know, this about 24-inch or so piece again, because as this kind of rubs through the fabric as we keep stitching, it gets curlier and curlier and more annoying. So we'll keep just changing the thread as need be. So okay, I am going to start. Let's see, what would be a good, I think typically you kind of start in the middle of an area, don't you, on needle turn? I think let's just start, we're gonna start in the middle of this row here, which may be a little goofy. Oh yeah, this is gonna be kind of difficult with the papers in here, but we're giving it a try. So I'm gonna go around that place again. That spot again. And then we're gonna just go up to the next spot. Go directly across, just so you're in the back fabric. Then up through both fabrics. I feel like I'm holding it differently than I normally do with needle turn, but that's just because these papers are here and I don't know, to finagle it this way without the flexibility of not having the papers. This way just seems to be a hair more comfortable. All right, let's get to the point on. I could probably get another stitch in there. We'll do one more stitch and then this kind of center point. Ooh, stacks of books to weigh things down. That makes sense. Yeah, I could give this glue some time to dry, but we have a little bit of time left here, so I wanted to get started. I'm going to go around that point, that middle point one more time just to extra secure it. All right, let's crawl up this side. So I'm going to do a couple stitches and then I'm going to try and bend this piece out of our way. And I suppose I could trim it a little bit. Let's see how it goes. Ooh, yeah, see, this is tough. Tough with that paper in there. And the trick is too, I don't want to grab that paper because then I'll be sewing that paper in. All right, let's try and tuck this out of the way. I'm just going to try and tuck it behind these papers. I probably could cut it a bit, but let's see how it goes. All right, I got a little bit out of the way. I think I can shape this point a little bit more once I get that far. As long as it's out of my stitching way, I think we should be good. I don't want to be pulling on my background fabric too much to get this tucked underneath though. All right, let's go there. Again, it's pretty hard to grab the edge with those papers in. Yeah, so far I'm not finding this quite as enjoyable as normal, just needle turn where you don't have the papers in the back. I like the looseness of the fabric. What's going to be in the way when I open the back? I mean, there'll still be a lot of seam allowances and stuff when I open the back. I'll open the back from the middle, like I'll pull out, you know, this middle point and then start trimming and then work my way to the seam allowance edge. I'll give myself a little seam allowance. All right, I think this is looking okay. Let's get to the point here. And I think our points will probably get a little bit better as we work around this too. Well, I can always trim the dog ears, I think, once I start cutting out the back. All right, through that point, I think that's looking okay. All right, let's go down this edge. Once we get stitching on this, I don't think it'll take too long to finish it up. It looks like a lot of stitching around this edge, but I think it'll go pretty quickly. Got a nice straight edge here. I'm just still trying to keep that back flat so I'm not scrunching up too much of the back fabric. So actually having these papers is helpful with that. Will I use a straight razor? Nope, I'm just going to, I don't know, I'm just going to poke a hole in the back probably with a scissors and then just start trimming with my scissors around. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal. And then once I have the back exposed, like the back cut open, then I'll just start popping out the edges, just like how I normally would with English paper piecing. Oh man, I'm making a mess. Here we go. Do you starch with the paper still in? I would, because if you get, I would starch with the paper still in and then press it really, really good if you're doing it in that way. And then take the papers out. I'm not going to use starch because I'm just stitching it down right now, but if I weren't doing it this way where I kept the papers in, I would give it a good starch and then press it immediately, because the starch will make the fabric wet, and that will make the glue not stick anymore. So all these nice curved edges that we have, if you just spray that with starch and let it sit, or spray with starch on the other side so it's exposed, you know, and you don't press it right away, then it's gonna make all the papers, all our curved edges and everything, and our nice outside edges are gonna go away. So I would spray on the front and then I would press it right away to kind of lock in those curves, or those edges. And you know, I could have done it that way. That's the way I typically do it. I mean, I don't do a ton of paper piecing either, but that's the way I typically do it. But you know, this way was mentioned, I think by the designer, that you can cut out the back of it, and I haven't done that really before, not with English paper piecing like what we're trying here. So I thought, why not? All right, well, we got this little bit on. I think we'll just keep going for a few more minutes here. I think I can get all the way up here, potentially. I think we can actually remove this guy too. The less pins, the better, because we have it stitched up to here. But this seems to be working. But yeah, I'd like to, I really don't think this is going to take forever. I think maybe one nice long sitting, 1 full hour, maybe more than one, but 1 to 1.5 hours, I think we'll get this guy done. I think we could maybe actually do it in one sitting. We've only been doing this for a little bit, and this is like almost a quarter of the thing. So yeah, if we can find one more day to work on this, I think we'll have this guy done, and then we'll start the quilt as you go process with the ones that we have done. And then we'll still work on finishing our other ones too. But I thought it'd be fun to get started. Get some quilting under our belts again. I don't want to go too long without quilting. Oh, so I was going to tell you guys the other really nice thing about quilt as you go, especially when you're going to work, and if you're going to work like me and my mom with these, just putting 4 blocks together and quilting those. It is a great opportunity to use up all those random bits of batting. So, you know, a lot of times when you do a batting, you'll have like you'll cut it down to size, and you'll have like a whole big edge of batting left that's too small to do any quilt. This is going to be perfect for, you know, if you have a 12-inch square, or, you know, a little bit bigger square of batting, like if you have a bunch of batting left over that can be cut down to squares like that, that's going to be perfect for quilt as you go. So I might actually end up using a pile of random different batting. I'm just going to use what I have, because I have tons of batting scraps, and it's a bummer having all that batting scraps, because it takes up space, and I never know what I'm going to use it for. So I might use them for this. I might even Frankenstein some of the pieces together if need be. Hoping not to do that, but yeah, I'm pretty stoked. So I think I have some of that warm and natural left, but I think I have some like polyester batting too. So it's just going to be a weird combo of batting, but you know what? Who cares? And if it reacts differently, like if some shrinks more than others, I think that'll just be an interesting feature to the quilt. I'm just going to go with it. All right, I'm going to tuck under this edge now. I think we'll pick it up to do. Sometimes it's easier to just get your finger in there. Got a little threads hanging out of their thread. We can just trim that later too, if that stays popping out, which it might. Okay, I think we're tucked in there. I'm going to go around my point one more time just to kind of lock it in place. Then we'll go on this next edge. I'm going to do this little stitch just to kind of get that fold stuck underneath. Another little stitch. Are you just sewing the 4 blocks together without sashing? Yes. So Lucy, that's how I'm going to do it. I mean, you can do it however you want. Throw some sashing in there if you like in between your 4 blocks, or you know, you can do a whole row of blocks too and still do quilt as you go. You would just be quilting your whole row and then putting a little sashing in. So, but I'm going to just do it like how my mom's doing it, because I think that's just going to be just fine. I'm going to butt up the pieces next to each other. But I suppose if you wanted it to be really uniform, our quilt as you go pieces, once they're together, it's gonna be like this small 1/2 inch sashing. So if you wanted it to look kind of uniform throughout, I would put like a 1/2 inch piece of sashing in between your four blocks. You'd probably end up with what, like a 13 or something inch square maybe then? 13 and a half or something like that. But yeah, because when we put the pieces to the quilted pieces together, so once we've quilted an area, you know, with the back and the batting and the front, once we've quilted our little 4 squares, we'll be attaching it to another, you know, quilted piece with this weird quilt as you go 1/2 inch kind of little edge. So yeah, if you do want it to look uniform, I would do a 1/2 inch border. But you could also do, or I mean sashing. You could do big sashing too, or no sashing. I think I'm going to do no sashing. All right, I want to get to this point and maybe halfway up this edge here. Actually, you know, why don't we, how much time do we have? Why don't I try and get up here and then end right here? Because then we've done like a full quarter. Because we started on the left side of this one. If we can get to the left side of the next one, we'll have finished a whole kind of segment of this. All right, just in this corner here. Oh yeah, I have no idea. So far, all of the free Splendid Sampler 2 blocks that we've gotten, like these first 20, they have all been on the cover of the book. So if you go to the Amazon listing, you can see, or actually if you go to thesplendidsampler.com, you can see the cover of the book of what the Splendid Sampler 2 book's gonna look like. And every block so far of the first 20 that we get free has been from there. So yeah, who knows? But it'll probably be one of those. There's that little embroidered kitty. I'm kind of hoping it's that. Did your mom make the back a little bit bigger before she quilted? Marie, I'm not positive. I'm going to talk to her a little bit before I get into the quilt as you go. But my guess is that yes, she probably made the back and the batting a hair bigger, as like you normally would when quilting. So normally when you quilt, you make the back and the batting a little bit larger, just in case when you quilt it bunches up a little bit or shrinks a little, or you didn't center it perfectly. The front has a little bit of area to move around. So my guess is that my guess is she made it just a hair bigger. You probably don't need to go a whole lot bigger. And then she trimmed it. If I had to guess, I don't know if that was actually her process, but I would assume it probably was. All right, so I just tucked in that dog ear. That was pretty easy for this point. Getting a little more used to stitching with this cardboard in here, I think, or the template. I'm trying to hide the little folded edge in here. I'm not sure I'm doing a great job at that, but no one's going to notice in the end. All right, one more stitch up to this point. All right. We'll get this point and a little bit down this edge just because we need to kind of tuck in that side a little bit too, and then I think we'll call it an evening. Yeah, the quilt as you go blocks you've seen are usually squared up. Oh yeah, so we'll definitely square them up all nice before we quilt, before we attach one quilted block to another quilted block. So when we do the actual like assembly technique of quilt as you go, then we'll square them up before then, because we want nice uniform pieces at that point. But before you quilt, you might make the back a little bit bigger and the batting a little bit bigger. Just a tish. Yeah, I'm excited, Lucy. I haven't done it before, Quilt As You Go, and it's one of those mysteries that was always like, how do they do that? And I'm excited to give it a try. There's just so many neat benefits to it that I think it's a good alternative, especially if you want a quilt, but it's just too big. Like quilting a whole quilt is just too big for your sewing machine, or it's just too annoying for your sewing machine. Or like I said, if you want to use up some batting fabric, or yeah, or if you want, the neat thing is that your project's going to be done once you're done making the blocks, really, because you don't have to go through the whole process of sandwiching and quilting the whole thing together when you're done, because that part will be done already. So I'm pretty excited for that. Compared to my first Splendid Sampler, which took me forever to finish the back and forever to quilt it and put the binding on. This is just all going to be done. It'll be done once we get to that final block. All right, I'm going to stop here for the night. We do have some thread on here. I'll just let that hang. I will package this in my binder with these pins in yet. We'll just leave it like that. And I think that's going to be enough to hold this together. So I think this is working okay. Here's the back. We got our little stitches on here. So yeah, here you can see we'll pull this fabric away from the back, and then I will trim just the white background, so we have a seam allowance, and then that should expose the back of our piece again, and then I can pull the papers out. So that's my plan. Yep, Debbie, I will be doing my Quilt As You Go on the machine, which will be great because I only have to quilt a piece this big. I won't have to quilt a whole quilt, so that'll be fun. We can play around with some fancy quilting maybe. But yeah. You can do it by hand though too. I think Quilt As You Go would work either way for hand quilting or machine quilting. But there we are. We got 1/4 of this done. So I think for sure one more day of this, and I think we might be able to get all the way around and get this guy finished, or maybe a day and a half, because we do have to pull out all the papers yet. So when we have a free day again, we'll get this done, and because then we can start the Quilt As You Go stuff. So all right, guys, I'm gonna flip you around, and we'll call it an evening here. Hello. So here it is on the paper so far. I think it's looking cute though. It's so small. See, these when you hold it up to a face, you can really see how little the pieces are. But yay, I'm excited. I'm undecided about this way, if I like it or not yet. Keep leaving the papers in or not. So after we stitch it a little bit more, and after we take the papers out of the back, we'll see. I don't know, starching and then just getting it all down might be a little bit easier, but I'm open to it yet. I'm getting a little bit more comfortable with it, so we'll see how this goes. But tomorrow we get a new block, so tomorrow is New Block Thursday, and we will let this be for a little while till we have another free day. So yeah. Check out thesplendidsampler.com tomorrow morning, or get on their newsletter, their email list. That will be at thesplendidsampler.com, and you'll get an email with the new block, and we'll download that, and we'll get going on whatever that is tomorrow evening here. So awesome, guys. I will get this up on YouTube at Penguin and Fish Movies. I did put my video for my mom and dad's house. I do have that up now as well if you wanted to check that out. That is on YouTube. And I have my kits on Mass Drop again. So if you wanted to snag one of my embroidery kits, you can head over to massdrop.com. I do have a direct link in here. It says sale Mass Drop, and then you can see the kits available there. So awesome, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Have a great evening. Good night.